All righty, so here we go. This series was an interesting, unusual process for me. Much of it was created during the second half of the 2020 pandemic. I think any work an artist made in that period is interesting as an active response to isolation. But the Strata Series goes beyond that particular historical context. It was birthed out of a commission for an engineering building that was finished back in 2019. So I have to go back a bit to give you context. The piece is titled Ingenere. It's Latin meaning to cause, to create, to produce. In Latin, it's pronounced genaro. The scale was large, 12 by 14 feet. I created a layered surface that used signage as the base interwoven layer. The indigo arc provides a horizon line, the curvature of our one and only planet Earth. The found and manipulated objects are detritus from the built environment and specifically from the engineering field. I think of signage as a symbol, our signature, if you will, of our species' priorities for how we care for and direct ourselves, often to the exclusion of other ecosystems. Several hundred pieces were assembled to create the layers. It's a tactile history of the visual strata our society stands upon. After the installation, I spent time thinking about this work because the making of this piece never left me. I mulled the concepts and the possibilities. Typically, an artist goes from small to big. I needed and wanted to go in the opposite direction, from big to a smaller scale. I thought it might be useful and I could learn a lot, hence the Strata Series. The 2020 pandemic gave me the space and time to explore the beginnings of the Strata Series, basically to follow the nerve of one's own being, as Annie Dillard has written. I wanted to strip down that 2019 commission to the essentials, which for me were materials and time. Strata is all about time, and for me, stories. I've had the great good fortune to raft down through the Grand Canyon. There I traveled back 1.8 billion years. That strata told me their stories. They bear witness to a time before me and many species that we know. It was incredibly lovely, but huge in scope, even hard to comprehend. This experience informed me to keep it simple, but know that the execution could be complicated. Strata as a term is now expansive. It can apply to social constructs as well. It can apply to social stratifications, like the energy and tension within the 21st century. The patina on these surfaces speak of time as well. The incorporation of text is important, and other graphic details, whether it's graffiti or bullet holes, are also important to me. This work takes the long geological view where the pressure of time takes our meanings, our intentions with the text, and alters it into something indecipherable, but still has an echo of our wants, needs, and goals. I've taken the detritus from the fabricated welded strata series to create mosaics. Mosaic is one of our older art forms. I'm using contemporary materials, signage, but creating an old world time. It's an appropriate adaptation for me, the juxtaposition of new materials with the earlier slow time of art making. When I make these pieces, I get a lot of time to think about the layers of time, society, and stories. The point of the Strata series is not looking back, but instead thinking of what we leave. We have created so much as a species. The question is, what are we leaving behind? What will be found in our geological strata? This work imagines our marks on the geological strata long after our time, when all else is forgotten. I've discovered a dark, bright side to this material. It's called retroreflection. Retroreflection is when is what a driver sees in the night as headlights wash over a highway sign. It's a combination of shadow and darkness with a direct light source. This causes the surfaces to reflect directly back to the viewer, which highlights the hidden patinas in the surfaces. For me, retroreflection exposes the alter ego of these familiar surfaces and illuminates a dark story. I think of this ability to reflect more than we know or perceive is the very essence of our human stories that we tell ourselves and that we tell each other. Given that, I think of our species as a bright, odd line that runs through the strata in future geological time. The Strata Series becomes a complicated beacon of reflection, a marker of our time spent here on this planet.